Welcome. This is Elaine Starling, the Abundance Ambassador, and you're with us for the Abundance Journey. I'm really psyched to have one of my best friends, Manny Nowak. We're going to learn so much from Manny. This guy is freaking brilliant. I am so fortunate. I get to meet with Manny on Friday mornings. He's my accountability buddy. And this guy is just beyond. I want you to get to know him through our conversation, because you're going to get so much out of today's experience. So let me introduce you to Manny, because this guy, gotta love Manny. I just gotta love Manny. So Coach Manny is a motivational speaker, an author, an educator, and a consultant to business owners and organizations all over the country. Frankly, he also has some international clients. The central theme of his message is that we learn to be great leaders from the failures we've gone through. But the key to learning from your failures is you have to review them, understand them, and learn from them. By learning from our failures, we can maximize our potential. By learning from our failures, we take control of our fear and move forward. Manny is committed to developing outstanding leaders throughout the world. What makes Manny different? Well, frankly, he's been there and done that. I mean, this guy is no slouch. You won't believe his background. He doesn't just talk and teach theory. Manny has built companies of his own, and he's really good at taking six-figure companies and turning them into 7, 8, 9-figure companies. He's done this so many times. He just really knows what it takes to make it happen. The tools and processes that Manny has created help bring clear, simple, easy to use, applicable principles to every single thing that you do. If you can't apply what you learned today, so what good is it, right? He's not about flapping his gums. He's about getting you in action. Manny is just brilliant. He produces a weekly podcast called Target Lead Generation and a weekly newsletter and video that goes out to thousands of people all over the world. This is a teaching piece, because Manny is really trying to help you get better and better in your work, in your life, in your faith, in your family. Manny, we are so lucky to have you here today. Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm excited to be here, Elaine. You know that. Yeah. I love that introduction, right?
Hey,
I don't know if I live up to it, but I'll try.
I love your energy. I love hanging out with you. I always learn something when we're together. Could you share just a little bit about your background and how you got into helping companies grow so rapidly and why you're so passionate about that?
I think the passion comes from basically where I came from. You know, I was that person who hung out with the wrong people. I was that person who had that negative attitude. I had all that stuff. And one day I woke up and I was in Parris Island, South Carolina in the Marine Corps. And that was the changing process that took me from thinking about I can't to there's nothing I can't. All right, which is that's the key, that you need to have that ability. And so you don't have to become a Marine to do that. That just happened to be my road to get there, right? But the point is, when you start thinking about things in the positive, like there's nothing you can't do. And then you've got to surround yourself with people that you want to be like. You know, I surrounded myself for years with the wrong people, and you become who you hang out with. If you hang out with people just like you, that's where you're going to stay. If you want to become that superstar, you want to become that great person, go hang out with people. And all people are okay. I wrote a book which we're going to talk about later, but successful people will never turn you away. Okay. They'll always try to help you. And so
that's such a cool insight. I really love that. But I know you're super passionate about helping companies. And I think you've done a lot of work with tech companies, particularly, and helping them break through that 7-figure barrier. Why are you so passionate about supporting this kind of company?
Because all right. So my background, I finally ended up becoming a programmer, and I worked in code development for years, and we built a couple companies. And it's just, everyone sits there and they're on the edge, and they can only go so far, and they're afraid to take those chances sometimes. But I was lucky enough and early in my career to work with somebody who taught me that it's okay to make mistakes.
Uh-huh.
And so the biggest thing that happens is you become successful, and let's say you start with nothing, and all of a sudden you're at $500,000 or $1 million, and you're like, now you start that fear factor. Well, I don't want to lose what I have. And that hesitation starts to come in. And that's one of the things you have to work on. Okay.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to take that chance, and you have to be willing to grow. I love watching companies grow, because when you put the right people together, and I've had the pleasure to put some great teams together, it's like exciting, because
you
can watch things come, and then you can watch them take off and grow.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Well, Manny, I always ask people some of the same questions. And one of the most important questions to me is, how do you personally define abundance? Because everybody has a different take on what abundance really means. And given your background and how you're helping companies grow to over 7 figures, the natural assumption is it's all about the money. But I want to hear from you. What do you think abundance is?
Great question, Elaine. And simply put, abundance to me is having more than enough in the things that really matter to me. And each of us is different, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love, as you can hear that in my voice, I love to help others. That's kind of what makes it for me. I love to watch the light go on.
Oh, yeah.
I love to watch people learn and grow and just take off. And all of a sudden, one day I was just a small company, and the next day we were doing 150 million. And,
whoa.
okay. And it happens, especially during the COVID, we watched a lot of companies grow at astronomical rates. And so abundance to me is, I like to do that. I appreciate it to the fullest, life to the fullest, and the ability to appreciate life and just help other people is for me the great thing. And I have a personal relationship with Christ, and that's kind of my foundation for abundance for me.
Yeah, you're a very spiritual guy. It's one of the reasons why we connect so well, and I really appreciate you, because what I heard you just say, Manny, whether this was what you intended to do or not, I heard you say that you're really passionate about transforming fear that a lot of leaders struggle with into freedom. You transform fear into freedom. And that is so valuable for all of us, because we all hit those blocks. We all get stuck in different things. And I'm sure you have in the past yourself. Could you tell us a little bit about a challenge that you had in your own life around abundance? What held you back in the past?
Sure. For me, as I had discussed earlier, I was lucky to have someone who allowed me to make mistakes. In fact, this guy was so, passionate. He was one of my great mentors in life, that when if I made a decision, he would be happy whether I was right or wrong. But if I didn't make a decision, that's when I got in trouble. Okay. And that's the key that I teach people today. And when I train people, I'm like, make a mistake. It's okay. That's how we grow. That's how we learn. That's how we develop into who we are.
I just heard you
dealt
say,
with a lot of pains growing up. Yes. my parents came here from Austria after World War II. They were a young couple, and a few years later they had me. And but my dad died when I was a couple years old.
Oh, wow.
And my mom showed me that great passion of you can do it. You can do almost anything. And, I took some of the wrong steps in there, but that's how I ended up in the Marine Corps. But the interesting thing is, you go in the Marine Corps. I spent after 90 days, I realized I really want to be in college. I want to be learning. So then I had to pay 33 months into that cost before I got to go there.
Wow. That, you said something that really struck a nerve for me. You said in different words, dithering, lack of making a decision. Dithering is dangerous.
Dangerous.
Dithering is dangerous. You're much better off making a decision, and don't sweat it so much if it's the perfect decision and the right decision. And as a fellow entrepreneur, I know I get trapped in analysis paralysis a lot. And it's one of the biggest besetting sins I have, and the challenge to overcome that. What did you do to get yourself better at making decisions quickly and feeling comfortable, and then also looking at the results of the decision and finding the gold within, even if it didn't work out the way you wanted it to? How are you able to do that, Manny?
Make those decisions.
Make the decision, but then find the gold in the failure, right? Do you have a process that helps people find the gold in the failure?
Yeah, I think I've just learned because, like I said, I was lucky enough to be allowed to do that. And a lot of environments do not allow people to do that. And a lot of companies will hold you back. And that's why a lot of people end up being entrepreneurs and trying to do it themselves, because that environment doesn't exist. For me, and I was a very stressed out person at one point in my life too. Luckily I have my wife who keeps me in check when I go out and push too hard. But back to your original question, how to overcome? I overcame it through building my personal faith. Okay. I just watched things happen. I can go back to a story where when I was in college, I lost my job. I had a wife and child at that time. And, just I believed I was going to be okay. I lost my job on Wednesday. By the next week, I had a better job 5 minutes away from home.
Oh, nice.
And it was just how things worked out. You've got to surround yourself with the right people. And I'll keep emphasizing that, because if you look at the very successful people, you'll see they're surrounded by the right people. That's why Elaine and I have a great relationship.
Absolutely. I think that's super important. And Manny, there's one other piece that you sort of alluded to, but you didn't spell out. And I really want to spell it out, because one of the people that you hang out with the most sits between your left ear and your right ear. And is talking to you 24/7, 365. Is that person supportive and encouraging and telling you, no problem, this is for your highest and best good, you're going to find some gold in here, this is going to work out for you? That is such an important piece of it. And I know for both of us, our faith really helps us tap into the realization that it's not all on us. We got a partnership going on here with the divine. And when we feel like it's all on us, it's a great reminder that's the divine just tapping us on the shoulder going, sweetheart, it ain't all about you. Get out of the way and let me help out, And I think that is such an important piece to remember. You are surrounding yourself with just the right people, including yourself, and remembering to partner with the divine. That makes all the difference in everything you do. So Manny, you get to experience a lot of really wonderful things. I love where you're hanging out today. And you're just showing us that you can live a 7, 8 figure life from wherever you want to. That's really awesome. What do you do since you're so surrounded by abundance? What do you like to do to really anchor in like this moment, this situation? This is abundance for me. What do you do?
Well, I guess it drives me crazy when I see people who don't get it. You know,
I know what you mean. I totally know what you mean.
no matter where you're at in this great country, which people are breaking the barriers and borders and everything else to get into. We live in America, and you can be up in this country, and I've been to the top, and I've lost it all, and I've got it all back.
Yeah.
And so that opportunity and that belief, and there's an old saying, and it's true. You can have it all, you can lose it all, but you can get it back faster the second time around.
Yeah.
And abundance is there for you, but you have to have that faith. And that faith, I think, Elaine, you alluded to it very well, is right there between your two ears. It has to be in you.
So true. So true. It's really interesting that, one of the things that I love to do whenever I notice abundance or I feel that wonderful sense of abundance and tranquility and just excitement about the future, every time I get into that space, I think or say, thank you, thank you, thank you. I find that please and thank you are two of the most powerful prayers you can ever use. And so I try to say thank you a lot. Is there any kind of code that you do or any little thing that you do that kind of helps you anchor in abundance when you notice it?
I do pretty much the same thing that you do. I'm so thankful. I can share a quick little story with you. The other day, a simple thing like these eyeglasses I had on, for some reason, I was working in the yard, whatever. I took off my hat, whatever, and I lost them. Now, I don't need glasses that much for outside, okay? And they were unfindable.
Oh.
Okay, so I actually went on, ordered another pair. I had a backup pair that wasn't quite as strong. A day later, yesterday, I drove my car up the driveway, right? And during this time, I said, I know those glasses are somewhere. Help me out here, okay? Parked my car in the driveway, got out of my car, looked down, and there's my glasses laying on the floor. Not broken, not run over, not damaged. So I know that's a simple story, but what I want you to do is I want you to take everything in life and know it's going to work out.
Yeah.
Might not work out the way you want, but if you believe, abundance will come you.
I want to reframe what you just said. It may not work out the way you want. I'm going to reframe that to say it may not work out the way you expected it to, but this or something better is coming along. And something that happens is always leading to something way better than you could possibly imagine. And you're always asked to open up your imagination and look for the gold within. And that's one of the things that Manny is so brilliant at. And he's taught me how to do. And I just adore what Manny's all about. So Manny, that leads me to my next question. What's your favorite way to help other people experience this abundance that we're talking about?
Well, my favorite way is just to do as we do, just to share. I mean, I love to speak to crowds. I love to do a lot of one-on-one work. The reason I write books is because I feel it's just a way to get that information out to more people. And not that I'm a great writer or anything, but I just like to give you a tool to start with. And if you can read the book and then you get inspired, maybe you want to take we have a lot of courses. So if you may want to say, well, I want to learn a little bit more, or you may take that and you may say, I want to work a little bit one-on-one with you and have you teach me the process. And I just, as I stated before, when that light goes on and you take, it's not really, I'm very good at pulling it out of you, but you have all that inside of you, and you just need somebody to pull it out. Remember, I was talking about my great mentor, and he pulled it out of me. It was always there. If I hadn't run into him or someone like that, it may never have come out. But that's why I tell you, watch who you hang out with.
And the other thing is you have to be willing to receive the guidance, right?
Yes.
You have to be open to the insights that are coming through. And I can't tell you how many times I will sit in the morning, I'll sit for guidance, and I'll write down what I want to have happen in my day, what my intentions are for the day. And I would write, I'd really like to hear from 2 mentors. I'd like to get some guidance from 2 mentors. And I'll be standing in line at a Starbucks, and there are people in front of me that I don't know. I've never seen them before. I have no idea what they're talking about. They're having a conversation, totally irrelevant. But something they say is exactly what I needed to hear. But I have to be open to receive that information. If I think, well, no, I'm right, and I've got this all figured out, I'm going to justify and defend why I made the decision I made. Yeah, well, you get to stay stuck. And instead, if you're like, okay, there's gold in here somewhere. Where's the gold? Help me see the gold. And that's what I love about your books, Manny. It's just like having a conversation with you. They're just so relaxed and so real and so authentic and very, very tactical. I love that you just cut to the chase, and it's like, look, here's how it works. Here's what you do. No beating around the bush. Absolutely brilliant. Which leads me to my next thing. Because I had to arm wrestle with Manny, but he came up with a really, really, really awesome free gift that's going to help everybody listening increase their abundance. So Manny, what are we going to get from you today?
So let's see. This is the book we're going to share. I think I can get that on there.
There you go. Super successful people will never tell you that you can't. Very true. Who are you hanging out with?
Yeah, it's unsuccessful people that try to keep you from that abundance. That's one thing you'll learn. So that's why I kind of wrote this book, because I had spent time with those people and I finally got away from them. And you have to remember, if you want to talk to somebody in this world, everybody's accessible. Don't hesitate from that point. So this book kind of walks you through some of the stuff we've talked about today, and it just pumps you up a little bit, and then it gives you some tools to help you. And so what we're going to do is we're going to give the electronic copy to you free of charge. And all you have to do, we'll use an easy technique rather than link, because we'll just email me with a subject which says free book from Elaine's.
Okay, I will put that in the show notes so that everybody has access to your email address and what the subject needs to be. And then you'll send
the
them
email address, just so you know, is just Manny, MANNY, at MANNYNOWAK.com.
Yeah. Manny at MannyNowak.com. How could it get any better than that? That's awesome. Manny, you are so awesome. And we really appreciate hearing from you today. One of the things that we do here that's a little different from a lot of podcasts and shows is not only do we invite the guests to provide something of value to our audience, we, the audience, want to find a way to give back to you. And because when you give, that's when you're open to receive. So what can we give you, Manny, that will help you?
Okay, so I'm giving you this book, and I would love you to share that link with 3 of your friends out there so that we can this book is, I'll give it to anybody who wants to read it out there. It's the other thing you can remember with my stuff, it's quick. You can read through it in a couple hours, bang, you're out of there. But so you'll get that link, you'll download it, and then you'll share that. Say, hey, I like this. And with 3 of your friends, that'll just take off for me. And I really appreciate it.
That is great. Manny, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. We are going to activate abundance in just a second.
All right. Thank you, Elaine. I've enjoyed this.
Okay, it's time to activate abundance. And we just heard from the amazing Manny Nowak. So I'm going to model this for you because I want to make sure that you start doing this routinely. Every time you have a conversation with someone, every time you come out of a meeting, I want you to activate abundance in your own life. Step 1, celebrate. We just had a great conversation with Manny Nowak, and I want you to really understand something here. Manny comes across as a simple, down-home guy, right? Just really everyday, salt of the earth kind of guy. And he is absolutely brilliant with this approach because he's non-threatening. He's very approachable. He's very relatable. And so he's able to make these connections with high-powered executives. I mean, really, some of the top people in the world seek out Manny because they love that he's just real. He's natural. He's who he is. So I celebrate every time I connect with Manny. It's a great reminder. I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to put on a show. I don't have to be all that. I just have to be myself. How refreshing is that? So I'm going to celebrate that. And I also want to acknowledge some of the key things that I heard Manny say, and I did repeat them. And it's not the exact wording he used. I've told him he needs to use my wording because I think it's really powerful. I heard him say that he loves to help executives transform their fear, which is about trying to protect what they've already accomplished, transform that fear into freedom of a much, much more powerful, more fulfilling business. I love that idea, that concept, that passion that Manny has. And I want to acknowledge that because it's the same kind of passion that I feel for my clients and what I do, even though what I do is a little different. It doesn't matter. I see it in him. And if you see it, you can be it. I love that. And I also really valued what he had to say, that dithering is dangerous. Decisions are what drive success, not dithering, not analysis paralysis. And I'm so typically caught up in that. It's one of my challenges. So I really appreciated hearing that from Manny. I wanted to acknowledge that. Now, what can I appreciate? What I appreciate and what you are appreciating is the difference it can make in your life when you choose to adopt some of the things that Manny was talking about. So there were several things that Manny talked about. He talked about surrounding yourself with supportive people and that person inside your head and how supportive they are. And of course, he's a big guy for faith. And so it was also about connecting with your faith and feeling that sense of partnership. Really, really important to do that. There were so many tips that Manny had to offer. I don't want to cover all of them. I want to keep this kind of concise. So that's where I really want to focus is who am I surrounding myself with and how am I treating myself throughout the day? Am I celebrating my wins? Am I celebrating my progress? So now it's time to activate abundance. And the way you activate abundance is you pick some actions that you will actually implement and you put it on your calendar. Unless you're willing to take action, you're not going to get the result. So the first thing that I always try to do is call my shots. What are my intentions? How do I want to show up differently now that I've had this conversation with Manny? And I know that I create people that I want to hang out with. And what I mean by that is when I talk to you, I have a vision of who you are. I see who you truly are. And that's the person I'm talking to. And that's the person I'm interacting with. And you might not feel like you're quite there yet, but I see that you are. And when I have that intention and I hold that space for you, surprise, surprise, that's where you go. That's where you show up. It's interesting how that happens. What you intend is often what materializes. So I put on my calendar that I'm going to look at every single one of my interactions and I'm going to hold that high intention for each person that I connect with. And I'm going to beam what I call blessing balls. I was taught this technique. So you imagine that you're holding a ball about the size of a basketball, and you just fill this ball with love and light and blessings. And then you toss the ball at every single person you meet, at every single person you know, at every single person you're related to, all the people you will know, everybody involved in the project that you're working on who might have any decision having to do with the project you're working on. I throw them blessing balls. I hold a high intention and I throw blessing balls. And it's really interesting to see what shows up. It's always abundance every single time. I get abundance every single time. This is Elaine Starling. Thank you so much for joining me. Make sure you activate abundance and share your experience with me. Leave a comment and visit theabundancejourney.com for more information. See you next time. Watch my TED Talk, Abundance is a Choice. You can visit theabundancejourney.com to find the link and discover how you can receive a special gift. You are a blessing and you are blessed.